You walk into a room, heart racing. There are people everywhere, yet you feel alone. You want to say something, anything, but your mind goes blank. The silence grows heavy, and the moment passes. Welcome back to Guide to Reads, where we explore books that don't just entertain, they teach, transform, and connect us. Today's episode is for anyone who's ever dreaded small talk, but deep down, just wants to connect. In Better Small Talk, Patrick King reveals a powerful truth. Great conversation isn't magic, it's a skill. And like any skill, it can be learned, trained, and sharpened. Whether you're shy, awkward, or just tired of surface-level chatter, this book will show you how to move from hi to wow. One question, one story, one moment at a time. Let's dive into the key lessons and learn how to talk to anyone, avoid awkwardness, and build real friendships. 1. Social skills are like muscles, from Better Small Talk by Patrick King. Let's get something straight. No one is born with perfect conversational abilities. Even the most charismatic people you know, they weren't always that way. They practiced, they made mistakes, they learned, and over time, they grew. Patrick King opens his book with this foundational insight. Social skills are just like muscles. They only get stronger when you use them regularly. Think about it this way. If you wanted to run a marathon, you wouldn't start by running 26 miles. You'd start small, a few minutes a day, and build up your stamina, step by step. Social confidence works the same way. You don't become a skilled conversationalist overnight. You become one by showing up, initiating interactions, and gradually stretching your comfort zone. Maybe today, it's a smile and a hello to a stranger. Tomorrow, it's a short chat with a coworker. Next week, maybe it's joining a group conversation. Each of these moments is a repetition, a rep for your social muscle. King emphasizes that the brain learns through exposure and response. The more you expose yourself to social situations, even the small ones, the less anxious and more natural it starts to feel. But here's the catch. Just like skipping gym days makes your muscles weaker, avoiding conversation leads to social atrophy. You lose the ease, the rhythm, the spontaneity. Awkwardness creeps in not because you're incapable, but because the muscle isn't getting worked. So what can you do? Start with low-pressure interactions. Compliment someone's shoes. Ask a cashier how their day's going. Greet your neighbors by name. These may seem insignificant, but they're the social equivalent of doing push-ups. They build strength, confidence, and flow. And over time, you'll notice conversations becoming smoother, eye contact easier, your presence stronger. Because being good with people isn't a gift, it's a skill. And just like any skill, it rewards those who show up to practice. 2. Conversation happens by degrees. Let's bust a common myth. Great conversations don't just happen. They aren't lightning bolts of chemistry or magic words whispered at just the right moment. Instead, they build, step by step, just like climbing a staircase. Patrick King calls this the degrees of conversation. You don't start at the top, with deep, soul-bearing truths or emotional vulnerability. You start at the base level, with light, surface-level topics. And from there, you gradually earn your way up. Think of it like this. If you walk into a room and say, "Tell me your biggest regret in life," chances are you'll get an awkward pause or a raised eyebrow. But if you start with a casual, "How was your weekend?" and genuinely engage, you set the tone for progressive depth. Each layer of conversation is like a rung on a ladder. 1. Clichés and greetings. Hi. How are you? Nice weather today. These are safe zones. They don't carry emotional weight, but they open the door. 2. Facts and small talk. I work in marketing. I saw that new Netflix show last night. You're sharing info, nothing too personal, but it builds rapport. 3. Opinions and preferences. I really enjoy travel documentaries. They make the world feel smaller. Now you're revealing personality, inviting connection. 4. Experiences and stories. When I went hiking last summer, I got completely lost. It was terrifying and freeing at the same time. You're letting them in and giving them something real to respond to. 5. Feelings, values, and vulnerabilities. I've always struggled with feeling like I'm not doing enough. This is the top level and where bonds are forged, not just words exchanged. King reminds us that you can't skip levels. Trying to jump from nice weather to what keeps you up at night can feel invasive or forced. But if you respect the natural rhythm of conversation, allow each degree to flow into the next, you create trust. And trust is the gateway to authentic connection. So the next time you're in a conversation, listen for the degree you're at and gently nudge it forward. Ask thoughtful follow-ups. Offer a piece of your own perspective. Share a small story. Because conversations aren't just passed back and forth like tennis balls. They're built like bridges, one careful layer at a time. 3. Tell stories to captivate your audience. Let's start with a simple truth. Facts tell, but stories sell. You see, if you want to be memorable in conversation, you don't just list information. You wrap it in a story. Why? Because the human brain is wired for narrative. Since ancient times, we've sat around fires, listened to elders, shared myths, legends, and lessons. Stories were how we made sense of the world. And in modern conversation, that hasn't changed. Imagine someone asks, "How was your weekend?" Now you could say, "It was fine, I went to the beach, it was sunny." Or you could say, "I nearly lost my hat to the wind. I was standing by the water, and out of nowhere this huge gust blew it off my head. And suddenly I'm chasing it like a scene from a comedy film." Which one do you think they'll remember? Exactly. Patrick King teaches us this. The power of conversation lies in your ability to entertain and connect through storytelling. And no, you don't need to be a novelist or a public speaker to do it well. All you need are 3 simple elements. 1. A setup. Give just enough background. Create context. Let the listener step into the scene. Example. Last Friday, I was trying this new Thai place downtown. 2. A conflict or twist. Something unexpected or amusing. That's what creates engagement. But halfway through my meal, the lights went out, and the chef came running out with a flashlight, still holding a wok. 3. A payoff or reflection. Wrap it up with humor, insight, or a personal takeaway. It was probably the spiciest and most dramatic pad thai I've ever had. The goal isn't to impress, it's to make your words stick. Stories do that. They're sticky, visual, and emotionally charged. But here's the secret. The best stories aren't about how great you are. They're about how human you are. That time you messed up on your first day at work, that awkward Zoom moment, that spontaneous road trip that led nowhere, but ended up becoming a favorite memory. These aren't just icebreakers. They're bridges. Bridges that connect one soul to another, one laugh to another, one truth to another. So next time someone says, "Tell me more," don't just answer. Storytell. Let them walk beside you for a moment in your shoes. And just like that, you're not just making small talk, you're making real impact. 4. Relate unrelated things. If you've ever been caught in a conversation that fizzled out like a match in the wind, this chapter is your rescue rope. One of the most powerful and underrated skills in conversation is the ability to connect the unconnected. Patrick King calls it the art of creative association. What does that mean? It's when someone says one thing, and instead of just responding literally, you link it to something unexpected, yet interesting. Let's say your friend mentions they bought a plant. Instead of replying with, "Oh, that's nice," you say, "That reminds me of how I once tried growing basil and ended up with a tiny jungle in my kitchen." Or even, "Caring for a plant is oddly similar to maintaining friendships. If you don't check in often, things wither." You've just taken a small detail and turned it into something bigger, more reflective, and relatable. Why does this work? Because conversation isn't just about facts, it's about mental bridges. When you relate unrelated things, you keep the conversation alive and flowing. Surprise your listener, which captures attention. Invite deeper meaning or shared insight. How can you practice this? Here are a few quick tools to develop this conversational superpower. 1. Think in metaphors and analogies. Train your brain to see patterns between unrelated things. Example. Networking feels like gardening. You plant seeds, wait, water them, and one day something grows. 2. Use "that reminds me of." This is your magic phrase. No matter the topic, say, "That reminds me of," and let your memory or imagination build the next connection. 3. Play the yes and game. Instead of stopping a thread, build on it. Yes, and that makes me think of, it's a technique borrowed from improv comedy. and it works wonders for conversations. Here's the point Patrick King drives home. Conversations aren't always about what you say, but how you connect ideas. If you can weave threads from unexpected places, from a movie, a dream, a memory, or even a joke, you bring color and momentum to the dialogue. Because in the end, the people we remember aren't just those who spoke well. They're the ones who made us think, laugh, and connect dots we never noticed before. So don't fear the random. Use it. Let your curiosity guide you. And trust this: every topic, even the awkward ones, can lead to something meaningful when you know how to relate the seemingly unrelated. 5. Ask good questions. Let's pause for a moment and reflect. What's the lifeblood of every great conversation? It's not charming jokes. It's not impressive facts. It's not even great stories. It's questions. But not just any questions. Good questions. The kind that open doors, not close them. The kind that turn two strangers into kindred spirits. Patrick King emphasizes that mastering the art of asking is key to unlocking deeper human connection. Why do questions matter so much? Because questions shift the spotlight. They show interest, signal curiosity, and make your conversation partner feel heard and valued. In King's words, questions are like keys. Some only open small talk, others unlock the soul. So, how do we ask the kind that matter? 1. Ask open-ended, not closed. A closed question: did you enjoy the movie? Yes or no, and the conversation ends. An open-ended question: what did you like most about the movie? Now the door is open. Emotions, stories, opinions, all are welcome. The magic lies in how the question invites more than a single word reply. 2. Use the FORD framework. King suggests keeping 4 core areas in mind when stuck: family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Ask things like, what do you love most about your work? What's a passion you'd pursue full-time if you could? Got any fun plans this weekend? These open paths to stories, the real gold in conversation. 3. Ask follow-up questions. This is where real depth happens. If someone tells you they love painting, don't move on. Ask, what draws you to it? Do you remember your first piece? Is there a particular artist who inspired you? Follow-ups show that you're engaged, not just waiting to talk. 4. Be genuinely curious. Questions aren't checklists, they're invitations. So ask the ones you truly want to hear the answer to. Because when you're authentically curious, it shows, and when it shows, people respond with honesty, vulnerability, and even excitement. Try this in real life. Next time you meet someone new, skip the boring, "So what do you do?" Instead, try, "What's something recently that made you laugh out loud?" If you could master one random skill instantly, what would it be? What's something small that brings you big joy? Simple, thoughtful, unforgettable. In the end, great conversation isn't about being the wittiest or smartest person in the room. It's about creating a safe, engaging space where people can be themselves. And the fastest way to do that? Ask good questions, then listen like their answer is the most important thing in the world. Because sometimes it just might be. Final summary: conversations, simple everyday exchanges, hold the power to transform loneliness into belonging, strangers into friends, moments into memories. Patrick King's Better Small Talk teaches us that connecting with others isn't some mysterious talent. It's a skill, a craft, and yes, a muscle to train. From understanding that social skills grow with practice, to learning how conversations build layer by layer, to telling stories that spark imagination and emotion, to weaving ideas through creative connections, and finally asking questions that open hearts and minds. All these pieces come together like a symphony of human connection. The gift is simple. You don't need to be perfect or witty or extroverted. You just need to show up with curiosity, kindness, and a willingness to listen. If this episode lit a spark in you, if it made you want to say hello to a stranger or dig a little deeper in your next conversation, then carry that spark forward. Share this episode with someone who could use a little more connection in their life. Follow Guide to Reads for more journeys into books that open doors, to wisdom, to understanding, and to ourselves. Until next time, keep talking, keep listening, and keep building those bridges. Guide to Reads, Igniting Minds. one page at a time.